Hi, Sophia. How are you?
Hi, I'm pretty good.
Okay, so everybody, I'm here with Sophia, and she is a horseback rider. She's a competitive horseback rider, and I have done some Reiki sessions for her with her horses and just on her horses. And so we're doing this little interview to give you all an idea about how it goes and what her experience was, why you might find it valuable for you and your pets at home or working animals, whatever animals you might have in your life, and how Reiki might be beneficial for you. So. Sophia, tell us a little about yourself and your horses.
Okay, so I am a 7-year horse owner myself right now. I just picked up my third horse in June. I have a horse named Shadow who is turning 22, no, 21 this year. And then I have a horse named Dash who is a rescue horse that we got at an auction house about 5 years ago now, maybe seven, something around those lines. He's around 17 years old based on his teeth. We don't have exact paperwork for him. And then I have my yearling horse who is going to be turning 2 in June, named Remy, and he is a quarter horse. We like to do a lot of competitions. I do a lot of barrel racing, rodeo events. I did 4-H and Keystone Junior Rodeo Association with Pennsylvania. And then I've even done the National Barrel Horse Association and gone to the Youth World Finals. I haven't done a whole lot of competing this year since ending my 4-H year and Keystone Junior Rodeo year last year. So this will be kind of like my first year of being in the adult classes, which is kind of terrifying. But it's a super fun experience, and I love what I do with all of my animals.
Great. That's amazing. Like, I know you've gotten quite far with your competitive riding, so it's impressive. So why were you interested in Reiki? Like, how did you even like learn about it or know what it was? And why did you choose Reiki for your horses?
So I heard about Reiki actually from a friend of mine who had an animal communicator that also did Reiki and things from long before even this journey began of getting into this and learning about it. And I'd always thought it was super fascinating to be able to learn that like you could communicate with your horse in a way that you couldn't even see or hear yourself with the help from others or even starting to learn it yourself to see the signs. So I kind of got excited about it because my rescue horse Dash was kind of a problem animal for me, where he did a lot of things that I couldn't really figure out why he was doing them, and trainers couldn't figure it out, and I just didn't know how to communicate with him properly. So it ended up being that I was looking for somebody to come and talk to him, kind of find out what is he thinking, what is he doing, like why is there this disconnect, and what can I do to improve it so that we don't have these issues anymore. And then I was also super interested because like it'd be super cool that if my animals could talk to me. I would always say that that would be my superpower if they could talk to the animals. So it was super awesome that there's something out there that gives you that ability to, whether it's talking to them or just learning more about them, their history, especially with horses that you don't know where they come from or their past, that you can learn those things that can even benefit them in the long run of like health problems or things that are hurting them that we can't even see or that they can't even show us.
So was Dash the first concern for you, right? Figuring out that disconnect, you say, with him, and trying to figure out his past.
Yeah, so he came from a auction house, and I had him for about a year before I was even able to fully ride him. I had been able to ride him for about a month when I first got him, and then he turned into a bronc horse, which is a horse that bucks a lot and can be really dangerous and unpredictable. And you don't want to have that kind of horse around, especially not with younger kids. And with my little sister wanting to ride, that wasn't going to be a possibility. So we worked with him a lot and restarted him from the ground up, but there was still something that wasn't right because even with really that whole year of groundwork and everything after that, he still was bucking, and we couldn't quite figure out why or things that were like causing those issues. And he had been vet checked and things like that, and I just couldn't figure out like what was going on and why he was having these issues. So I reached out for like a farther deeper solution of like finding out, is there something that none of us can see that somebody else can, or that he can tell us what is wrong? Because constantly I'd look at him and be like, buddy, you just got to tell me what's going on. Like, I just want to help you. Like, I just want to make this work. Like, if you have to be a pasture pet and just go and do the demonstrations that the little kids can pet you, that's perfectly fine with me. But I need to know that now so that I can plan for the future of it. And so it ended up working out that it would have been a really good solution that when I found you to be able to do Reiki on him, that then I could find out whether it was he was having a pain that not even the vet could find off front hand, or he needed some kind of special shoes to feel better, or that he was just feeling a certain way of that he wasn't trusted or he wasn't being appreciated, that I'd be able to find out those things.
I know it's been a while since we've had the session, but do you remember about it that you could tell everybody, what happened when I worked with Dash?
First, when you came, he was very welcoming, and he can be like a really skittish horse because he came from what we kind of assumed that he came from a past of abuse from the way that he began with his ground training, of where he was very frightful of everything. If you came towards him too fast, he would freak out and kind of like set back and not want to be anywhere near you. He definitely didn't feel open to people coming up and touching him very much, even though he was a really loving, cuddly horse. Once you were able to get to that point, it just took a very long time. So it actually ended up that when you came and you like rubbed over his body and you pet him, that he was very calm, he was very happy, which is the first time I had ever seen him not be kind of weird around people. And then you were actually able to see from his past that he had been handled roughly, and that he had a lot of issues of, especially on his right side, which without me telling you, that had actually been his really hard side for training, that lunging him and even trying to mount him and like get on him to ride him, it was a struggle big time. Like he would freak out, he wouldn't listen, he would take off, he would just completely hold up on that side and not let you anywhere near it. That I would have to sit there and go circles and circles and circles to even get him to let me stand on that side to pet him or anything like that. So it was really interesting to me to be able to see, like, oh my gosh, that is really why that side is the problem, because I assumed that it was something really traumatic that had happened. So it was really cool to find out that that was actually something legitimate, and that it wasn't just a pain thing, or I don't want to do this because I don't want to do this. And it was really interesting to see that, especially throughout the whole process. And then you were also able to, when you went down and felt his legs, I had mentioned that he had been being really weird about his feet lately. He had been bad for the farrier when I first got him, but he went through a lot of training that he was really good then. But he just hadn't been himself lately, but we couldn't really find anything that was causing that. And the farrier said that they would come out if I found anything or thought of anything that would be the problem. But from the pictures that I had sent, you couldn't see anything. So then you actually were able to say that on his one foot, he had a kind of like a sore feeling when you were feeling through all of his energies, and being able to see like that there was something there that was bothering him, but we weren't quite sure what. So I had reached out, and then the farrier had come out a couple days after, and it turned out being that one of the nails had gone a little bit too deep, that it was in his tender spot of his hoof wall, so that we were able to immediately remove that and give him time off. And you said that he even felt like he needed rest and kind of like relaxing, that he felt like it was kind of like too much training at once, which I hadn't even thought about, because you just go through the normal training of like, oh, today we do this and today we do this, but you don't overdo it, but it's just normal training. But for him, it was too much. He just couldn't handle all of it. It's kind of like somebody working like 7 days a week and somebody else working like 78 hours a week. Like it's a whole different ball game of where you get tired and when you need a break. And he kept saying, hey, like I need a break now. But I couldn't tell because he kept like giving to me everything he had without me even noticing. So it was really great to be able to give him that time off and to take those shoes off and then to put new ones on that fit him a lot better and that had much shorter nails because of how thin his wall was, and we hadn't even quite realized it. So that was really, really helpful, because then I was able to ride him and kind of start showing him throughout that year. And he had gone for another training somewhere else, and I had used everything that we had learned from our lesson, and that he had a sore spot on his one back leg area because he had an allergic reaction to it was like a thistle or something that was in the pasture from prior, but I didn't even notice it was still bothering him. So we got another round of the cream and everything and put it on there, and then he felt a lot better, that he was actually able to excel much better in his training that I could show him. So it was really awesome and super positive.
Great. And so how is Dash doing these days?
So these days he is living his life as his pasture pet self, because I ended up going to college and gave him time off. And then he was like, I kind of want to be a couch potato now. So he's good with getting back into work. I had ridden him a couple weeks ago, and he actually let me get on without a problem. He didn't buck like a bronc like before he had used to, and he rode off just fine, and I had a great ride on him. So now that they're home, I'm hoping that I can ride them a lot more, and we'll see what potential he has.
So would you recommend Reiki for other people and their animals, and why?
I would definitely recommend Reiki for other people and other animals because even me myself as the rider, I was able to see how I could improve. Like you had noticed when you had Reiki'd me and my other horse Shadow at a competition that he didn't really like how I was sitting into the one barrel, that he wanted me to be more leaning to one outside than I was on the other because he turns a really tight turn that if I don't lay off a little bit that he doesn't have enough room and he feels kind of stuck in place. So I learned after that that I needed to give him a little bit more of his head, even if I thought that he was going too strong, and kind of just trust him into that because I struggle with that a lot. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hit the wall and kind of freaked out a little bit. But that had like told me then and there that he knew what he had to do and that I just had to fully trust him. And then after that, we had a really great run. And you're able to learn a lot about your animals, even if you don't know it already, or if you had a suspicion of it, that you could know dead in stone of like, what do they like? What do they need? Like, you notice that your horse is acting weird, but the vet says they're fine. This person says they're fine. The trainer says you have to do this, that, and the other thing. Sometimes that isn't always the answer. And then this is a great way to be able to talk to your animal and say, hey, what do you really need? Because I want to help you, help me, help you. Because otherwise, it's going to just be trying a bunch of different things, whether that's a bunch of medical treatments or a bunch of training sessions that end up not even fixing the problem, but if anything, making it worse. And you have to make sure that your animals feel kind of heard almost in that sense, especially horses, because it's a mutual relationship. They don't have to be with us if they don't want to be. They could definitely throw us off at any point and be like, we're done with you, we're not doing this. But it just makes it a whole lot easier to see those things. And then the other reason would be like, I've even seen myself because like, oh, like at first I was like, this might be a little silly. People are like, oh, this is ridiculous, this isn't real. But then seeing it done myself and like seeing the benefits and how it all worked out, I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like this makes so much sense. And then I was like, this is legit because there was things that you had found out about my horses that I had known, but I hadn't even shared with you. So it was really awesome that I was like, did you like read my book or something? Like, did you like go through my diary? And it was really interesting to see those things, and that other people are able to also experience those things, even if it's a cat, a dog, a horse, a cow, even a livestock show animal like a sheep or a pig or a goat. It would be really cool to see those different perspectives and even have those different results.
Great, thank you. I'm so glad it's been so beneficial for you and your horses. I know I haven't gotten to connect to the new one yet, to Remy, but
Yeah, we'll get.
I'm excited for that. Do you have anything else you would like to share about your experience?
I would say that if you haven't done it, to definitely try it. Even if you think afterward you're like, this wasn't really my thing, at least you tried it. And that if you do get incredible results and find out something completely new, that maybe you'll find out something else. Like with my barrel horse Shadow, when we went to Georgia for nationals, we were there and they had two different arenas, and one they were both kind of smaller, but one had a blind alleyway, which we had never ran in. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's not going to know what's going on. So when we did an exhibition, I took him in and I rode him, and he kind of figured it out, but he kind of couldn't see the barrels, and I wasn't really figuring out why. And I was like, what is going on? Like, why is this a problem? So when we came back, I had you Reiki him and me to try to find out like what was going on. So when we came back to the stall and you had Reiki him, you said that he just didn't know what color the barrels were because they weren't the regular colors. They were like a red, and then they had like a pink in there. Like they were a bunch of different colors, and he just couldn't tell what was what because there were so many colored banners on the wall. So you had recommended that I tell him every time before we go in what color the barrels are and where they're at. So like they're by the red banner and they're this color. And I was like, this might be a little bit crazy, but okay, I'll try it. I was like, I'll give it a go. Because at that point, what did I have to lose? So, and this was back in the beginning before we had even really done this fully. And I was like, all right, let's give this a go. I was like, this will work. So I tried it, and then we went and we made a run, and it was actually one of the best runs we had ever had with our fastest time. And we just barely didn't make it to the finals, which was okay with me though, because we got our fastest time. And it was really awesome because I was able to see that you were right and that he was also right in saying, hey, I need this. Like, I just genuinely don't, I'm going too fast to see what I'm needing to see. And if you can tell me I can look for those colors and those things, even if they can't quite see the colors, they definitely see a shade of the color. So it kind of works out of where like you could see those different aspects and how it really played into that running point of what had happened if I hadn't told him. We probably would have gone in and had really wide turns, or I would have fought him some more, and it definitely would have been a lot harder. So it was really great.
That is just the coolest story.
It
It
was pretty
really is
awesome.
amazing. Like you were totally able to communicate with your horse just like you were hoping for.
Yeah.
And your team, it's your partner.
Yeah.
Well, great. I appreciate all of your information and sharing your experience. And, hopefully that'll really resonate with some other horse competitors and riders and owners and others with just their pets too. I think I've probably worked on horses more than any any animal at this point though. And definitely appreciate your time and awesome, awesome stories.
Thank you. I appreciate all your time that you do into my animals to make them feel as good as they do.